Friends, before we get to the good stuff, it is crucial to understand that trading is risky. Understand that the people we speak with have been doing this for years and have put countless hours into honing their craft. These are the people on the other side of your trades. So please, we will not give you buy or sell recommendations, and this video should not be mistaken as financial advice. Always do your own research and never trade with money you cannot afford to lose. Now let's meet our guest today. So today we're here with Relentless Trader. For brevity, I'm going to call you RT. RT runs his own YouTube channel. You've got a private Discord, which I'm a member of and have been a member of for a while now. You're also the founder of MMU, along with Marcelo, who we talked with in episode 2. And RT has been trading since 2017, trading live since 2020. RT's pulled in over $175,000 in lifetime profits and over $60,000 in just the first half of 2023. He's got a profit factor of 1.39, 50% win-loss ratio with winners 1.39x his losses. And this year, he's taken 8,200 trades. RT, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. It's an honor. I'm glad to be here. Ready to dial in, have some fun. Let's get to it.
It's an honor to have you. So I want to start with this one off a little bit different, because one thing that I've noticed as I've done these interviews is a lot of folks have a higher win-loss percentage earlier in for their lifetime profits, and this is including me. And more recently, it seems like their win-loss has kind of gotten so they've won less, but their winners have been greater. So, and it seems like that's the same way in your statistics.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. Of course, one, over time, us gaining more experience, and at times maybe, taking some trades we probably shouldn't be taking, right? But we understand, hey, we can manage the risk a little bit better. So essentially taking on higher risk trades, and the other half, maybe the brokers, right? Back in the days, it seemed like the fills were faster and better. Now that there've been more traffic ever since, the pandemic, more people trading, more volume, it seemed, at least for the broker that I'm using, it's never really been the same. The price matching and, them trying to get you the best possible fill, I don't think that's any longer the case. They might still be trying to, but, it's not as good as it used to be.
It is weird because with all the traffic we had back in 2020, 2021, you'd think that's when we'd experience the issues.
Yeah, these platforms, man, it's pretty tricky. They're doing their business how they feel like it's best for them. But, sometimes we, the traders, do unfortunately feel the backlash.
Yep. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. And I think you use Thinkorswim. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Yep. And I've used TradeStation and Thinkorswim. And, it is what it is with these brokers. It's kind of just something that you have to deal with, I guess. If you want to trade without commissions, that's what you got to put up with.
It's part of the cost. If you're a truck driver, you're driving, you blow a tire, it's part of what you have to deal with at just maintenance. Sometimes you'll get a poor fill, but it's part of the deal. What's interesting though, sometimes they'll say they don't cater to small cap traders and scalpers, right? The day traders. But I feel like a large part of what they're doing, in terms of just cash and assets under management, we do have some worth, right? Some sort of value. So it'd be nice if they do recognize that and say, hey, you know what? Let's make sure our servers are good. That way we don't lose these customers over time.
It's strange that Thinkorswim has not reached out to you guys, because I'm sure, especially all the people that I've interviewed on the podcast, make up a good sum of volume, like a steady sum of volume. And TradeStation, like I'm smaller than everybody that I've interviewed so far. TradeStation has reached out to me and said that I'm one of their preferred customers. I have like a custom support line I can call.
I think it has to do with the size of the platform, though. Thinkorswim, TD Ameritrade rather.
That's true.
I think over 3 trillion under management. So they probably look at us like, hey, a little 20K there, a little 100K there. Like, the people who have that direct line probably have millions of dollars in their account.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So you started trading in 2017 and you traded in a sim for 3 years. Is that right?
About two years. When I first started, I was on my cell phone, and I was a typical Robinhood guy, right? Signed up for Robinhood and dabbling around, and then as 2017 was coming to an end, I'm like, hey, you know what? I want to take this thing serious. So I opened up eTrade Pro, and that's where I started kind of really trying to like figure out, hey, what's going on? And coming into 2018, I was doing about 10 hours a day studying. I started trading 3 times every 5 business days below the PDT. And, funny enough, like, right now we're going into an extended weekend here for Juneteenth, I think it's called. Something like that happened back then. And, on those days, I believe cash and trades don't settle. And so I came back to Tuesday thinking, I can, my day trade is available, hit with the PDT, have to wait 90 days, waited 90 days into 2018, and then got hit with the PDT again. So I'm like, you know what? I need to go into a sim. I'm wasting too much time here. One,
Hmm.
I'm trading once every 3 days, and you know, the simulation, I'm able to trade unlimitedly. At the time, the goal was to, hey, save up for an account over PDT. That way, you can trade unrestrictedly, and so that really propelled my growth. So I'd say about, you know, end of Q1 2018, I'm in the sim all the way to 2020 before I transition over to a live account.
And were you trading small caps that whole time in the sim?
Yeah, and this is a great point because and for those people out there who are listening in, um, I'm very big on practicing what you're going to be doing. If I'm training to be a pilot and a very specific type of pilot flying, a smaller plane, you want to make sure that you in the sim practice that exactly because if you practice flying this, and vice versa, right? If you are going to be flying a big plane, right, one of those huge Boeing 77s or whatever, and you're only training to fly the small plane, when you go live, it'll be a little different, and your strategy is not the same. So I'm trading small caps only, momentum trading, scalping, and just getting better at the strategies.
Just backing up here, how did you even get into trading in the first place?
Yeah, great question, man. So I got to thank my older brother, man. I got to thank my older brother for this because, between the two of us, he's the more of the entrepreneur. And this day we're sitting there, and it's like, man, how can we make money? What in the world can we do to make money? We're out here struggling, like, minimum wage jobs and these things. Back then, I'm in school as well, and we came across a video. I want to believe Tim Sykes. You know, something about him making $10,000 in just 2 3 hours of trading. He's in the market, and so for us, this was mind blowing because we never knew it was possible. Coming from our humble beginnings, we never knew it was possible to make $10,000 in a day without owning a huge business or something of that sort, where there's like something very tangible behind you, backing you up. So we're like, man, let's look into this thing. Like, is this really real? And slowly but steadily, you know, going through and realizing, holy smokes, this is a whole nother universe compared to what we've known, which is just the 9 to 5.
So with your brother, did you saw this video and then were you kind of both trading together? Were you learning together and whatever
Yeah.
happened to that?
So, and this is a very interesting story, man. So my brother, he still does trade, and right now he's in a simulator. So when we first started, at first, anything new, you're not going to be super good at right away. But his progression in the simulation back then was, miles ahead of what I was doing, and he started to find consistency pretty early in the simulator. And you know, when he transitioned to real money, is where he had an issue. And
Hmm.
so, from what I could see, what I could see looking from the outside, I would say a couple of things. One, mentally putting a little too much pressure on himself, and then two, trading in Thinkorswim, the free platform, and then going to commission-based broker, which I didn't think was a smart move. right? But yeah, that's what happened to him, and he ended up going back below PDT a few times. Took a break from trading, and now he's back trading in a simulator.
You said he went to a commission-based broker. Was that just back
Yeah.
when Thinkorswim had commissions, or did he go to a different broker?
That's actually a good question.
Because I remember trading in Thinkorswim
Um,
back in the day. It was $6 each side, the buy and the
right,
sell.
yeah,
I mean, there was no
six
way.
95 in.
Oh yeah, six
Yeah.
ninety five. Yeah, you're right. Well,
Um, I, you know what? It might have been. I think commissions might have still been on, which is a good point. Yeah, I think commissions were still on. That's why he said, okay, I'm going to go to CMAG, and he went to CMAG, I believe, at about 15K or something like that, and lost money off the top, and it is a couple of years ago, so the memory is a little blurred. But I want to say he was also at Thinkorswim at some point. He might have traded at CMAC first and then transitioned to Thinkorswim. And I think that's where he fell below PDT, I believe, 3 times.
yeah. So there's a difference between trading in a sim and trading live. There's definitely emotions that come with trading live. It's real money. Did you, when you went live out of the sim, did you experience any of that?
What was crazy is that because I traded one trade every 5 days, or let's say 3 trades every 5 days below the PDT, I think that gave me the mental connection, right? The connection to money and just the emotions in general. And my first week in the simulator, when I went to the sim, I had trouble mentally. And it's because of the stigma that's out there that's quote unquote saying, hey, you're not going to be able to take the simulation as real mentally because it's just not real money. But you know what? The simulation at that time was my only option. And I said, Relentless, like you better figure this out. You better find a way to make it real. And that's exactly what I did. I had a few friends in college at the time that knew I was trading. And it's this mindset of fake it till you make it in a sense where it doesn't matter on the outside what people think. It matters what you think. And I told myself, you know what? After that first week, I went in there, I was doing a bunch of nonsense, trading strategies I would never trade, like foolishness. But then when I after week one and I had this realization, I reset my PDT account, I believe, to like 27,000 or 26,000. And it's like, okay, I'm 2,000 above the limit. This is the mental situation I'm gonna put myself in, and I must survive. And I must make this happen. And it was a matter of, okay, going back to now what I was working on when I was using that, small account at E-Trade, trading 3 times every 5 days, paying attention for the A quality patterns. And so it became profits, process over profits, right? So focusing on the fundamentals for why a trade works and not the end result, which is the money. And for people who are listening in right now, if you're listening in right now, you know, if this is your only option, you have to challenge yourself and you can do it. You definitely can do it. Focus on why the patterns work versus the money at the end. And if you can master that, you'll have a smooth transition from the sim to live to a live account, and which is what happened to me when I went live. When I felt like I was finally ready, my setup was the same, my hotkeys were the same. Like if I'm to sign into my simulation account, like the only thing that'll be different is at the top of the screen is like an orange line on my broker.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everything else was the same: hotkeys, layouts, chartings, everything. And when you really get past the money mentally, what is the difference in an A quality pattern, whether you're in a sim or in a real account? You're supposed to buy where you need to buy where you need to buy. You need to sell where you need to sell. You need to have a profit target and a stop loss. And it doesn't matter if it's one share, 1,000 shares, or one share in the sim, or 1,000 shares in the sim. The trade should be the same regardless. And when I figured that out, boom, that's where it happened.
So how did you know that it was time to go live? Was it a money thing? Like, okay, now I've got the money, I'm ready? Or were you tracking stats when you were in the sim?
Yeah, I was using TraderView, and you know, the interesting thing is, you got to treat trading like a business first, guys. You got to treat trading like a business. It is a business, right? Not even like it is a business. Just like any big company that you can go to and they can show you, the demographics, right? In terms of just geography, which location did the best, what time of the year, what all these, million and one different data points you can pull is the same thing with trading. Whether you're using Excel or something else, you have to track your data so you can understand where you need to improve and how to get better, right? So for me, I was tracking my data, and it came to the point where I started to see a little bit more consistency. My cumulative P&L in the simulation, was small green, red. I get back to break even, and then slowly and steadily I'm inching up, inching up, inching up. I think when I made the transition, I'd made $20,000 in the sim. Now, looking back, I would say I could have still used some more practice in the sim, but I was showing a good amount of consistency. Then, on top of that, I was green gross. I was green gross. And what was left for me to do was now become green net, which is after commissions and fees. And guess what? Guess what, BMAC? Commissions went away that very next week. It's almost like God was just watching and said, relentless man, you've been working hard. We're going to set you up. That gross profits is now net profits. Go ahead and fly.
It was meant to be.
Meant to be, man.
That's
But
amazing.
you know what, though? It's like I was seeing progress, right? From, a ton of red days, not seeing any consistency, to essentially becoming green gross. It's like, it's a huge improvement. And for those of you who are out there who are big red and now small red, and from small red to break even or small green, do not underestimate what that progress means. Like, it's tremendous because, trading is a marathon. It's a long-term thing. And if you're seeing the progress, it means that one day, if you continue to actively improve, you will get to where you want to be.
It takes time. I know every year I think, wow, I've learned so much. Like, what could I possibly learn more? How could I possibly improve? And it just blows me away. I look at the trader I was just 6 months ago, and I don't even like, who was that guy? It's amazing how much you learn by just putting in the screen time. And then also the trader view lifetime P&L line.
Yeah.
Especially for me, when I was starting out, it was in a live account, but it was super, super small size. And so I didn't have the attachment to the money, the emotional, like, I'm losing a bunch of money. I had an
Okay.
attachment to the line. I just wanted to see the line go up. So I don't know, maybe that's something, if you're listening on, that maybe that's something you can grasp onto if you are skeptical about trading in a simulator. So RT, after you got out of the sim, up until where you are now, what did that progression look like?
Slow and steady, slow and steady. And I recently mentioned this on one of my live streams that, going back to grade school, I was always one of the guys who, the professor can put the math equation on the board. I'm one of the last guys to figure out the problem. There's some people immediately, they just get the equation. Maybe background learning mathematics, different experiences throughout their life to that point. But I had to go to tutoring, then I had to go home, watch videos online, and then I had to go back tomorrow, and then I was ready. So it's always been slow. It just seems like that's just, what it is for me. And I've embraced it, slow and steady, and to grind it out, no matter how long the grind is, find ways to enjoy the journey and eventually improve. And so for me, year one, I made $88 a day. $88. And back then I'm working at Amazon, delivery station. So if any of you guys watching out, uh, we all had our humble beginnings, man. Not to get too much into that, but doing inbound and scanning, our team handling and scanning and sorting about 25,000 packages in an hour and a half, which is crazy. Well, anyhow,
I always
slow
say,
and steady.
just to interrupt you quick, there's no better reason or encouragement to chase your dreams than a shitty job. A shitty job, a shitty manager, it's just going to make you push that much harder to go get what you want.
Man, I'm a black guy, so I can say this, but just straight slavery, bro. Like just straight up slavery, like working like a slave, man, and not seeing anything. Like you can't become successful in terms of just financial freedom and you know and wealthy working that particular type of job. There are some careers out there that's pretty well paying and fun, especially if you enjoy what you're doing. But that was like the lower levels, like 15 to 18 bucks an hour type of stuff. Like if you have to do what you have to do to gain a footing, of course, we're not judging. But in terms of getting wealthy and rich, it can't be done in that type of situation and environment.
Well, good for you for putting in the time, putting in the work, and grinding your way out of that. And you are full time now, right?
Yeah, full time now. So to get back into the question, year one, I did $88 a day. Year two, 178. Year three, which was last year, 238, and now about 5 something per day. So it's been slow and steady.
And I've been watching your progress. I've been following it through your recaps on YouTube. One of my favorite things about yourself is how open you are with everything. This whole journey for you has been public on YouTube for anybody to go back and watch, which is crucial. If you really want someone reputable to follow and learn from, you're the guy. That's right. He's pointing to his shirt. If you're listening on Spotify, RT's your man.
Trader, guys. Relentless Trader is the most transparent in the business. I show it all. Big green, big red, everything in between. And I even did a day in the live video, showing people, how I get ready for the market, what I do. And so, feel free to subscribe to the channel, right? Feel free.
And so I've been following you for a while, and every time you scale up, I'm like, you know what? RT can do it. I gotta scale up too. It's just little by little, just gradual improvements. And then so talk about going full time. What was that like? Did you have any extra emotions behind that? Like, oh, well, now I really got to make it. Now I really got to push. Or were you just really confident? You had the data to back it up. It was just about putting on the size.
I want to start off by saying I'm very fortunate. Very fortunate to be in a situation where the stress and the pressure would not have been super crazy. Like my relatives were not super well off by any means, but there was a support system that was in place. So that if things didn't go super well right away, there would have been options. Whether to find another job around trading, or even maybe potentially taking a few days or weeks off of trading to get something under control. So first and foremost, I definitely want to say that. But in terms of, doing it, I'm at Amazon, and, this is around COVID time, I think mid-COVID towards the end. There's talks of like layoffs, there's talks of the facility that we're at closing down. And it wasn't super clear whether they're trying to remodel it or just closing it down. It was a very weird thing. And, they tried to accommodate some of us. They did. But crazy shifts, shifts where you have to work, overnight or drive super far, things that just didn't make sense for me and what I was trying to do. So I'm like, you know what? I am already seeing consistency. I think at that time, I'm doing about 178 a day. And this is before the inflation really hit, so it's not crazy good, but it's still something. I think that amounted to like 45 grand or something like that on that year. So I'm like, okay, I feel like I can do this. I feel like I can still, pay the little bit of rent that I'll pay here, pay my car note, my car insurance, and everything, all my expenses essentially should still be covered. I can manage, I can budget, and having good credit and all these things will definitely help me. And so I was fearless. I said, this is what I'm going to do. In fact, I told some of my coworkers there that I'm done. Forget driving an hour to try to and get some part-time shift. I'm out of here. I'm going to go do this thing, and I'm going to go do it for real. And here we are now.
Mm. I love that story, man. You have such a great backstory. So I'm so glad you're able to share it here. Jumping forward into like just what does a trading day look like for you?
I wake up every day at 7:30 a.m. And this is going to be a little funny for some of the people watching who already know me, because there's this like ongoing meme that I'm sometimes late, like Relentless is late every day or something. But I wake up at 7:30. The market opens up at 9:30, guys. I'm up at 7:30 a.m. every morning religiously. And through all that time, I'm essentially already ready to go. I'll eat breakfast. I'll eat breakfast. I'll freshen up, hygiene stuff, right? Freshen up, and by 9:15, I want to be there to give myself, you know, time for pre-market analysis. I'm not a huge pre-market trader, or else I'd be there earlier. But I find that my strategy best works during the open. It can work pre-market, but I'll be limited to only one or two of my many strategies that I have, right? In terms of the overall bigger picture of what we look for. So I'm there to do my pre-market analysis at least 15 to 20 minutes before the opening bell. I go through my analysis, coming up to the last few minutes, I always try to remind myself of what my plan is for the day. Relentless, based off of your experience, right? Your cumulative experience and the short-term sentiment. How do you want to approach this day? And more recently, I've been going with three main things. Hey, do not get deep red, which might mean be patient, small size. Second, do not overtrade the consolidation. And third, size down on your pullback. So it's very detailed, right? And every single day, the routine is the same. I move forward, I trade the first hour and a half, 2 hours, and usually we're done. I'd say 9 out of 10 days we're done after that. So by 11:30 Eastern time, market time, we're done. And from there, I'm working with students. As you guys know, Merciless Markets University, I do have a day trading course. And so I'm working with students, one-on-one mentorship, and, general Q&A, things like that for another few hours. And then around 3:30, 4 p.m., I get ready to do my recap. From there, I head to the gym. I come back and I go hard in the gym, man. If you want to include, I can send you some clips of me doing muscle ups and flying over the bar like Superman. If you want some of these clips, let me know. But yeah, I go to the gym. I get a nice dinner. There's lunch, of course, somewhere in there. I go for lunch, come back. Nice dinner, to replenish energy, some protein, and then I do it again, and then I do it again all the way till Friday.
Are you a coffee drinker?
No, tea. I prefer tea, hot chocolate.
So
That's
this
how
is
I do
all
my
natural energy then,
morning.
huh?
Man, it's funny because there's a few people in our Discord who sometimes they'll be down. They'll have a red day, a red week, whatever it might be, and I can even be red on those same days myself. And they say, "Relentless, how in the world are you managing to stay so positive?" It's just part of me, man. It's the excitement and the understanding that I can and will do better. Not can I, and it's like I will get done, because and not to maybe skip ahead or anything like that within the podcast, but when it comes to potential in the market, the potential is almost limitless. And the more I trade, the more I continue to see it. And where I am now, if we're to do another podcast 5 years from now, I can guarantee that I will have become better, because that's what I'm seeing. Unless things somehow just, which it seems impossible. Like there needs to be some sort of drastic change, and so that's where my energy comes from. Just understanding that, yes, yes, I get another day tomorrow. Yeah, it's like I can have a red day today. Okay, cool. tomorrow I'm coming again. And then again, the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, relentless. You got to be relentless.
Let's jump over to your strategy. You mentioned that a little bit. You come to pre-market 9:00, 9:15. You get ready for the day. What are you looking for in your stock selection going into the open?
So, it's exactly like I teach in the classes, right? Every day it starts off with the percentage gain, right? How much is the stock up and why? There's usually some sort of, headline or breaking news. There's attention coming in, right? And attention that brings us to volume. Stocks that are moving up over a short period of time with a lower float, right? Not the Teslas and the Amazons of the world. Well, those stocks are great in their own right. When stocks with low floats are moving, there's a good chance we can get a potential for a squeeze because there's usually an imbalance between buyers and sellers. So, percentage gain, volume, again, that's usually, the leader is usually a catalyst, right? Breaking news. From there, we move forward to technical analysis. Okay, this stock is up 50%. Millions of people are watching at it. Big institutional buyers are watching at it. There's people who are here early. It then becomes, where can this stock go if it continues to move higher? So, in reference, I use the largest time frame, which is the daily chart. The stock's performance every one day over the last couple of years. I'll go back and see, when was the last time this stock gave a good opportunity? Was there big volume? Was there any sort of significant candlestick that I want to keep an eye out for? And so I start by mapping trend lines. And from there, I go into my key patterns. Some of them that I trade are a little bit more famous and general that's out there, like the bull flag, right? The bull flag, depending on how the candlesticks form, and I'm usually using the 1 and 5 minute time frame into the open. There's usually an opportunity, and in fact, over the last 5 years, it seems like I'd say like 90% of the time the stock is up at least 40% and an opportunity.
So do you trade in
And
that first 1 to 5 minutes, or are you kind of waiting for those patterns to set up?
so it depends. Like, there's this one particular pattern, for example, that we do look for within the first minute called the opening surge. And if I happen to recognize that pattern within the first 1 to 5 minutes, I'll trade it. If not, I'd be more patient. But I was referencing the 1 and 5 minute time frames I used heading into the open. But yeah, it all depends on the price action, and also if there's a good reason to buy based off of the pre-market charting heading into the open.
Gotcha. So pre-market is a big piece of that first couple minutes for you.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say is one of your favorite setups, like your A plus setups?
I like this question, but I'm going to give you a bit of a cliche answer. It's like asking me, who's my favorite sibling, or for those of you who already have children, who's your favorite child? There is no favorite. It's just whatever comes. There's no expectation that, hey, I want to see this one today. It's whoever is there, or in this case, whatever it's there. Whatever opportunity is there is the opportunity that I'll take. If there's no opportunity, then I don't take a trade, right?
So would you say that
And
go ahead, sorry.
yeah, sorry about that. I was gonna say, and the way how we do it is, it's essentially a set, right? Uh, one is not better than the other. They're not even essentially really different, in a sense of, more profits, less. Again, it's just whatever presents itself.
So would you say that there's setups? I mean, how many setups would you say that you had? If you just had to give a number, what would you say?
So I look at setups and what I call, Marcelo and myself at the MMU community, we call edges. Trades that are not necessarily pattern only, although they are based off of a pattern to some degree, but price action within level 2 data. Between patterns and edges, I'd say about 18, maybe 18, 20, maybe a little bit more, somewhere there.
And would you say that those edges come and go as through different market cycles, or would you say any given day any of those 18 edges could appear?
A bit of both. Like, and the market is cyclical, right? And so nothing is really, ongoing in a theme. It's not seasonal at all. So each day is unique. Each day offers its own set of opportunities. And we can expect anything on any day. Although there are times where it seems like there's a bit of a trend where, let's say, maybe bull flags are not working super well, but let's say halt resumption trades are just going higher and higher for weeks on end or days on end. And recognizing that trend, we can capitalize. So a little bit of both right there.
So you mentioned level 2. How important is that in your entries? I think the candlestick chart and pattern is very important, but how do you use level 2 in your trading?
Um, you know what? You know what's interesting about level two? The level two is not what comes first. The charting comes first, right? The charting comes first. And without the charting, I can't use level two by itself. Most of the trades, again, there's just a very few of them that are just, hey, this is just straight up a price action trade. But that's on the lower end of what the strategies we offer are. Is maybe just two out of like the 20. So majority of the trades, I'm looking at the candlesticks first, and the level two is essentially that, how do I describe it? It's like the trigger. It's almost like okay, yeah, the pattern is the weapon, and the level two is like the trigger. It helps me and assists me to buy in a area where the stock is more likely to resolve and give the follow through in the direction that I'm looking for. Now, with that being said, level two is not necessary. I think without it, if it's to go away tomorrow, I think, a good like 45%, maybe even 50% of some of the strategies that I'm looking for in terms of the trigger point might be a little bit more difficult to see. But it's not to say I can't trade without it, right? But vice versa, if you take away the chart, there's no way in hell I can just use a level two. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly looking at my charting to see what patterns are forming, and the level two a little bit of the more fine print to see where it makes the most sense to buy and sell.
And I've heard that a lot, where the chart is the bigger picture, and then you're really fine tuning the entry with the level 2. I know that that's how I use the level 2 as well.
Oh yeah. For those of you out there, that are wondering, like, I know traders who are profitable that don't use level two at all. I know some who are profitable with level two. I know some who are profitable with the active trader ladder, which some platforms do offer. And of course, there's people who are using all the collection that are not really where they need to be just yet.
Yeah, that you touched on a good point there. And when I say level 2 across all these videos, I'm talking about just seeing what the bid is and the ask is. How many buyers are there? How many sellers are there? And there's different ways of visualizing that. I know you and Marcelo, you guys use like the traditional level 2, or what I would call the traditional level 2, where it's you see the numbers and it's not on a ladder; they're just right next to each other. You see the bid on one side, you see the ask on one side, whereas people like myself and Crispy, we use the price ladder. So just for listeners, so that you know what we're saying
Yeah.
here, I think level 2 is kind of a broad description of both of those. Now, to give listeners kind of an idea of your trading style, how quickly, like, what are you looking for in a trade? How quickly are you selling it?
Right. So the fundamental of the strategy that we teach doesn't require you to be super scalpy. It can, though. It can, right? Now, the way how I like to describe it is that we are just like any other animal, and we have to adapt to what we think is best for us in the situation, in the moment, in our environment. And when commissions went to zero, the strategy that I was trading was for commissions. Like, just a matter of becoming more disciplined at the time, going back into the podcast, right? At that time, it was a matter of me becoming more disciplined to stop making as many mistakes, to become profitable, not only gross, but net also. But when commissions went away, it allowed me to be able to take more trades more frequently. And this is in the this is in the way of managing risk, right? So I'll give you guys a scenario, right, just so we can paint a picture. If I'm watching a stock at the lows and I have reasons to believe based off of level two and maybe some other data that it's going to come down, and I have a stop loss, I don't have to wait for my stop loss. I'm not encouraged to, because guess what? I can always get back in, right? So what I'll sometimes do is stop out flat. If the stock doesn't make the low that I think it was going to at that time, I just get back in. Now, if commissions is there, being that active would just not make sense for that type of environment, right? Going back again to being able to adapt. So, taking it more slow, being more patient, and you know, understanding to take the best setups. Something that I think is part of why our accuracies I think is lower. If you ask me, is that we kind of the free commission kind of allows us to be more gun, like we're not as gun shy. Like sometimes we're taking too many trades, even getting into over trading. But yeah, the fundamentals of what we do, you can approach it in both ways, whether fast or slow, depending on how you want to trade, whether commissions, non-commissions, personality. Not everyone who is one of my students will want to be this aggressive and scalpy in and out of the trades within seconds, maybe minutes. So, they hold longer. They wait for some of the bigger picture patterns, over the bigger time frame, the 5 minute time frame, for example, and they, have their risk established, profit target, and we always aim for a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio at minimum. So if I'm looking to make 50 cents in a trade, there's no way I should be risking more than 25 cents. That way for every one win, we'll have to lose 2 to 3 times before we start to really get negative in a trade.
Do you think there's room for 1-to-1 risk ratio trades? Like at least as, once you're more experienced and you can identify maybe smaller opportunities?
Oh yeah, of course, but you got to have a high accuracy. If you're making $50 and then losing $50, you can still be profitable, right? You just have to be very accurate. In fact, you have to be more accurate than 50%. If we do some basic math, if you're more accurate than 50%, you'll be profitable, right? But the more distance you have, either with accuracy or risk to reward ratio, right, the better you can be. And usually, most people, there's a variation of the two. And so it's possible to have a 90% accuracy and still be a losing trader. You can be right 9 times, you made $1 9 times, you're up $9. Your last trade, you're down $15, you're still net red, right? So for those of you watching on, listening in who are newer, while accuracy and these things are important, it's more so about the process and the fundamentals of the setup that you have to focus on, because nobody would be able to be profitable if these setups didn't work. I wouldn't be. It would be impossible for me to see consistency, and all the other people here, BMAC, everyone else in the community, to see consistency if these patterns didn't work. So if you focus on the fundamentals of the pattern and you're disciplined about it, naturally your personality will guide you into the balance of the two, and you'll fall somewhere higher or lower in between. Green is green. You just have to be green and consistently green, and you're looking good.
Well said. So talking about consistency, do you have any rules, like trading rules that you adhere to on a day-to-day basis? Whether that's I'm just going to put words in your mouth, like no adding to a loser, a max loss on the day, mentally when you should or shouldn't be trading, anything like that.
Man, I have so many rules. I mean, almost like a million rules. Now, what I'll say, the biggest thing is knowing yourself. This field is like no other field out there. Well, maybe some other fields, maybe professional sports, some military stuff to some degree. yeah,
High
yeah, maybe that's a bit of
performance,
a, yeah, it's like high performance, right? But
right?
the main thing is you have to know yourself and understand yourself, and you have to have a high level of control and mastery of your emotions. Because whilst the technicals are the technical stuff, and the technicals are not really hard to learn, it's the emotional side of things that makes it tricky when it comes to rules. So for some people, some of the rules that I have will not even make any sense because for them it's just not a thing at all, right? In some cases. So, and we like to say this in our community all the time, which is, trading is not guaranteed because ultimately we can teach you or you can learn, but it still comes still a part of it is still you as the individual. So when it comes to rules for me throughout the day, there are certain small things that I have, which is like trigger points for me and my personality. You know, like for example, let's talk about max loss. Like, this is usually a big thing that we all as traders, it's one of those general rules that's just out there, right? Hey, you lose a certain amount on a day, just stop because you want to cut the bleeding, lift the fight another day, don't blow up your account. My max loss is not one particular number, right? Some days it can be 1,000, some days it can be $50, 200. And here's why. Mentally, if there's a day which starts off with me just losing 1K on my first trade into the open, you know, I've had many losses around this range before. So it's not like a surprise or a shock to me, right? By any means. Now, I still feel good. I understand I got caught in a freak loss, a big flush or something going down, you know, just some unnecessary weakness. Does this mean that there's nothing left throughout the rest of the day from 9:31 a.m. all the way till 4 p.m.? The answer is no. The question comes down to how much are you feeling, how much you're comfortable losing, and where you are mentally. Okay, 1K is a lot, but it's still not crazy. Mentally, I feel great, and so I'll keep trading on that day. Now another day, I can be up 500, lost it all, red 200, made back money up 300, then lost it all again down 50. And on a day like that, I might be mentally drained. I'm like, you know what, man, this is my max. I'm done, just out of here. Like that frustration kicks in. And I'm like, I don't want to cross this line in the sand. I'm not gonna go and do it because I know what it'll make me do in turn. And I become frustrated. I'll go in rage. And we don't ever want that to happen. Since I went live before in the sim, like now ongoing, it's been over like 3.5 years since I had a terrible day, like a day where I really did something wrong fundamentally with rules. And I don't plan on changing that. So, understand yourself as the trader. And, this is why experience matters. It does matter because the more you trade, the more you go, the more you're going to understand who you are and what triggers you in the market, what frustrates you and make you do things that are out of your character. And when that happens to you is where you figure out what rules you need to have. And so, ultimately, the longer we trade, the more likely there is something that's going to happen to us. And so even if in the future something happens again, you make another rule and then you eliminate that thing and then you continue.
I absolutely love that answer because it is very situational. And I will say that it is probably not appropriate for more beginner traders. I think this is something that you really have to
Oh no.
master over time. It's something you have to
Yeah.
have an awareness, a huge awareness of self and where you're at mentally during the day, and not dig yourself into that hole.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I agree with you. Like, I think for people who are not as disciplined and you're a beginner, it is better. And even if you've been around the market and you're not where you want to be with your discipline, I think it is better to say have that hard stop. Hey, I'm down 500. I'm not comfortable losing anything more than that. I'm out of here because you can lose control of your emotions pretty easily, right? So make sure if you're not where you need to be, it might not be the best thing to do.
I think that's great advice. One thing I wanted to touch on was I want to talk a little bit about MMU, and I did talk a lot about it in episode 2 with Marcelo, who is the co-founder, along with yourself. But I see it on Twitter and other social media. There's stigma around creating a course, and I don't agree with it. I think courses can be really helpful. I think it would have enhanced my learning curve and sped it up a lot. But I think a lot of people out there, they see a paid course and they just, they immediately think you're shilling something. Again, this is not my personal opinion, but I know there's others out there that feel that way.
Yeah, fair point.
I just wanted to ask you, what was your thought process behind creating MMU?
Okay. So first, I do agree with you that there is this stigma around trading courses, and to be honest, a lot of it is actually warranted because there's a lot of nonsense. There's a lot of nonsense out here, right? Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people who are not really, transparent and are consistent, who have courses, and that's the reality. And so there needs to be this vetting process, and I think that's kind of why the stigma came, is that there's a lot of people who are essentially faking it, that are selling something. So not to get too much into it in this aspect of the question, but it's why Marcelo and myself are so transparent when it comes to MMU, right? Merciless markets. We show everything. We live stream our trades. We upload our data. We show the people what's going on, and we post daily recaps. That way, people know, like, hey, these guys are people we can trust, and we're doing it. Like, this is what we do. You know, but in terms of creating the course itself, the goal is to help people, right? People like myself, people like Marcelo, who are trying to learn how to trade, but don't know where to start, right? And what we do, what we do at MMU is pretty valuable, because we show it all. Like, we really and truly go through everything that makes us profitable. From that point on, it's up to the individual to take it in and then push it back out. And so sometimes that might require you, as the student, to you know maybe take a step back. Maybe you were learning another strategy from somewhere else, or you had a different mindset or thought process. But if you want to do what we do as a blueprint that's already here, that's successful, sometimes you have to take that step back. It's almost like throwing away that data that's there and then collecting and moving forward. And so again, there's a degree of self. The strategy is a strategy, but can you master yourself so that you can master the strategy, right? So it's all about helping people. Giving them a good platform. Marcel and myself, we are resources, two six-figure traders who are here every day, showing people how we trade. And something that's pretty big about a credible course is that you have all the information in one place, right? Like, for me, and here's another thing too, in terms of the stigma of the courses, you don't have to take a course, right? It's the same way how you don't have to go to university to be successful in a field. You can become whether it's not even a trade, it doesn't have to be like a plumber or something. You can be an accountant. You can be an accountant without going to university. You just have to buy the books and read it and practice, right? So you don't need a course to be successful, but what the course does is that it's for people who value time. It organizes all the information in a safe and methodical way, and it presents it to you in a way where it's very digestible. You can go through it at your own pace. The information is very easy to understand how we're teaching it, and from there you can slowly progress until you finish. And again, Marcelo and myself are resources that are there to help you with questions along the way. So, in quick summary, there's a lot of phonies out there. So make sure the person, whether us or somebody else, just make sure that the person you're following is credible. Understand that you don't need a course, but it does help in terms of time, having the data there organized and ready to go. And yeah, trading courses, it's like any other course in the world. Like, if you want to learn something, there's people who are already doing it, and you can essentially try and follow a blueprint in order to become successful. Think of it as a cooking recipe.
And you and I know you did not learn from a course coming up. So, both of us clearly do not value our time very much.
You know what? Sometimes it has to do with expense, right? And like, I couldn't afford a course of like $5,000, $10,000. It's part of the reason why our course is priced so cheap. It's for the people who are out there that just don't have that crazy income, right? And like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like a lot of people who trade, like they have good paying jobs, like they have the extra cash. That's why
Yeah.
they're here, right? They're trying to invest. But there's also people like myself who like kind of like out of nowhere found out about it. But you're just 9 to 5 in terms of the hourly wage, you know, minimum wage. Yeah, minimum wage. Like $15 an hour. Like living in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, Florida, and minimum wage is like you can't afford these 5, 10, $15,000 courses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm sure it's very appealing, as a get rich quick thing. I mean, look, I think everybody thinks that at first. I know I thought that at first, but it really is a process, and you've shown that from everything you've said today.
As you mentioned, like on my YouTube channel, like I've documented so much of the journey. If you come into trading with a mindset of wanting to become rich very quickly, it's not going to work. Trading, it's all about the long run. It's all about pacing yourself. If you don't pace yourself, you're going to burn out. And don't worry about, let's throw out a random name. Don't worry about John that might have made 50 grand on AMC because, and not to get too deep into anything, I'm definitely not a conspiracy guy or anything like that, but the interesting, the timing of GameStop, AMC, and Express, these meme stocks really and truly was interesting because you know there's so many people who are home at the time looking for something to do, looking to make money, and here comes a huge squeeze, right? But anyhow, to get back to it, don't worry about John who might have made 100 grand, and he's in the workplace bragging. For every one John, there's 50 people that might have lost money, but nobody likes to lose about bragging. So why would they go in the office and say, "Hey, I won on GameStop"? That person got lucky. They didn't really have a strategy. They just bought, and just through randomness, was rewarded. So the main thing of the market is to have a strategy that works and to consistently, have small gains. And as you become better, as you become more confident, as you gain more experience, you'll ultimately be able to put more risk behind the trade, put more capital. So that trade that was $5 or $50, is now 500 or $5,000, right? That's just natural. The more you cook the same food, the better of a chef you're going to become. The more confident you're going to be to serve the food now to people because it tastes good,
Right.
right?
Yeah. It's just points, right? It's just points. At first, it's going to be small amounts, but it's going to scale quickly. If you focus on the process over profits. Going back to the MMU stuff again, I really appreciate how open you guys are with sharing everything. And I have done a review video on MMU, and I really do appreciate everything you guys have done with that course. I think it's a great course, and I've actually got a promo code that's going to be in the description below. So if you guys want to check that out, there's going to be a link there and a promo code. And I want to ask you, closing things out here, what are your goals in the future? In this trading related or in your personal life, whatever it is?
Uh, I'll talk a little bit about both, and of course they do overlap a little bit. Um, the only goal that I really have is to just become better. To become better in every aspect. We talked about the spiritual side of things, the mental side of things. With relationships. In terms of myself, more consistency as a worker, right? Because regardless of if you are at a 9 to 5 or you start your own business, there's still a constant there of working. You still have to work, right? It's not just things happening by themselves. So I just want to become better, man. And likewise with trading, slow and steady. I'm going to continue to improve. Right now, from how I see how things work, there's just so much potential, and we're not even close to, we're not even anywhere close to what a ceiling looks like. Our ceiling, there is a ceiling though, that ceiling is liquidity. And in terms of where I am now and what liquidity is, how much of it there is, and I think it'll only continue to get better, the ceiling is absolutely insane. And think about, people like us who are starting up these smaller channels. Think about the people who are now gaining access to the internet. Think about the people who are now understanding about, investing, right? And not just through the traditional form of the 401ks and things like that, but, doing it for themselves. And, the market is the greatest accumulation of wealth in the world that there ever was. And so, it only makes more sense that they'll continue to invest there, and so I think it gets much, much, much better over time. And so we're going to continue to trade. We're going to continue to improve. And in our personal life, having extra cash will definitely help out with that, right? In terms of this lifestyle, because ultimately, the goal is freedom. And, we want to make sure that we can live life on our own terms, do what we want to do, how we want to do it, when we want to do it. So progress is the name of the game.
10% better every day. So I just want to really thank you for coming on. Again, I really appreciate and respect what you and Marcel were doing over at MMU and with the Discord. So thanks for everything.
Yeah, definitely, man. You guys can follow me on all platforms at Relentless Trader. Whether you're a TikTok person, Facebook person, YouTube person, I'm everywhere. And as BMAC is going to mention, the way how we teach and the style that I have, you guys can pick it up just from this podcast alone. It's not the traditional way of how people, say and do things. I have my own style, and I'm very transparent with that style. And that's essentially what my trading is. I found something that was very good. I held on to it, and I'm going to just continue to make it better as I become better.
It's real. It's from the heart, and you can tell. It definitely shows. And sorry, I didn't ask you. Yeah, where can people find you? You said Relentless Trader on YouTube. Where else?
Yes, sir. YouTube, Twitch. Well, yeah, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. The only thing I think I don't have is a Snap. I even have a Twitter. Too.
I gotta follow you on Twitter.
Relentless. Unfortunately, the Twitter handle doesn't allow you to have your full name. There's only like 14 characters. I believe it's Relentless TJ66. I can confirm that. It'll be down in the description.
Yeah. We'll have all the links in the description.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for coming on the podcast. And I'm sure we'll hear from you soon.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah, man. It's been a pleasure. Stay safe, guys. Enjoy. And of course, hit that thumbs up, share this podcast with all your day trading friends. Let's get Dip Trader up there to 10,000 subscribers, man. On the road to 10K.